Hello, my name's Julie Williams. I'm a registered migration agent with Migration Downunder, and I'm going to be talking to you about the subclass 190 visa. It's a pathway to permanent residency and it requires a sponsorship by a state or territory. Similar to the 189 visa, it is a points tested. You are required to get a minimum 65 points to lodge an expression of interest. You have to be between 18 and 44 to be eligible, and your occupation must be on a skilled occupation list that's relevant to that state or territory. Firstly, your occupation needs to be on the main occupation list. For some, each state and territory have their own occupation list dependent on their needs and demands for certain skills in their area and their region. There are also a lot of caveats and additional criteria for some states requiring, if you're wanting to seek a nomination by that state. If you are in Australia, it is a lot more difficult to get an invitation from a state. For example, if your occupation is only on the Northern Territory and you have been studying, working, living in New South Wales, unfortunately you're not going to be considered for their state. They give priority to those that have studied in their state or territory, and they also give priority for those who are already working and living in their state or territory, because that then to them shows a genuine desire to remain working and living in their state. Because the idea of the state sponsorship is that you're filling a skill shortage in that area. And they don't want to see you lodging an application and then going to another area to work. They want to see that you've got a commitment to living and working in their state. And there is an obligation to remain there for 2 years following the grant of your visa. Now, the New South Wales state government have almost virtually every occupation on the list. However, just because you have got 65 points or maybe 70 points, don't think that you're going to get an additional 5 by requesting a nomination from New South Wales. It's very competitive. It's like lodging the visa application for the 189 and requiring higher points. It's the same with the state. The higher the points, the more likely it is that you're going to receive an invitation from that state. So, for example, New South Wales are looking for people that have got experience, that are employable and would be likely to get a job very easily in the state, in the occupation that they have a need for. They also look at high-level English language, because if you have a good command of English language, then you're also going to be more employable and are going to be able to know how and who to contact in regards to obtaining a job in that area. Other states require you to have a job offer. Other states won't even consider you if you're in Australia and not living in their state. South Australia, for example, may consider you if you're living in another state if you've got a minimum of 80 points. So that's not always easy to obtain, the 80 points. If you're from overseas and thinking, I've never worked or lived in Australia before, then you have a much better chance to go to any of these particular states. But once again, you do need to show that you've got good work experience. You can't just have a qualification, English language, and be within the age range. It's experience that they're looking at, because they're wanting to see how employable and adaptable will you be in the workforce here in Australia, in their state. If you happen to have lived in Australia before and you're wanting to go to another state, as long as you declare it and show a genuine desire to move to this new state, it may be through you've got family, you've got contacts, you've got friends there, perhaps you've done some research or recently been on a holiday to that state. That will show strong desire and intent, and it will show that you've done the research and the knowledge for that particular state and territory. So be aware, it's very competitive. ACT and some other states close very quickly each financial year when they do meet their cap for the year of skilled sponsorship. And you do need to make certain, like the 189, that you've done your skills assessment and you've got a favourable outcome for that. You've done your English language, you've got your work references all set for the expression of interest, because it works very similar. You lodge the expression of interest with a minimum of 65 points, and then you lodge your, at that time, you express your interest as to which state you'd prefer to live in, and then dependent on your points and how many people are vying for those occupations in that particular state will be determined, will be dependent on when and if you get an invitation. And again, if you've got 65 and you're seeking the 5 points to get up to 70, you're not necessarily going to get an invitation from that state. So you really need to consider having 70 points as a starting point for state sponsorship. And then there are other occupations that are pro rata, such as a lot of engineering positions, IT professionals, where it's very competitive, also accountant. So there may be other options for you, and that's what we're here to help with. If you do want to subscribe and keep up to date with the latest news in immigration law, specifically with skilled migration, do register your interest and on YouTube, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. Otherwise, you can also subscribe to our newsletter that we send out on a regular basis.